baby. Look at all you beautiful people. Oh, woo! I feel the energy in the room. It's nice. I was imagining coming out here, and I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna model everything that my talk is about, which is all about managing your energy and your mindset. So I'm gonna take a moment and close my eyes. All right, so what I just did is I asked the part of me that really wants you to like me, that really wants to be good at this, that wants Quility to feel like I was a good investment, that can be insecure or judgmental or critical of myself. I asked that part to step back for the next 45 minutes or so. And I asked the part of me to step forward that is just here to be a hollow bone, a channel, to share some things that have really helped me that I hope can really serve you. So hopefully that helped me align my energy so that I can really be of service to you. So I want to tell you a little bit about my story, how I ended up on this stage, and then my goal is to give you an embodied experience of some really great tools and practices to manage your energy and your mindset to get incredible success in life with greater joy and ease. Would you like that? Yeah. Awesome. Okay, let's do it. So, a little bit about me. I am a recovering perfectionist. I also read recently that perfectionism, because we only talk about that with women, it's kind of a gendered thing that is like putting a lid on our ambition, similar to the word bossy. So I thought that was interesting. So I have been driven my entire life, and I've been ambitious from as long as I can remember. And I was someone who always got good grades in school, went to an Ivy League school, graduated top of my class, went on to work on Wall Street in finance, doing investment banking. And I would work these 100+ hour weeks, just literally 100-hour weeks. And when I would get out of work, I would, at 10 o'clock at night, or whenever it was, I would feel so drained and exhausted that I would either go out and drink a lot of alcohol with my girlfriends. Anybody use that as a coping mechanism for stress? Anybody? Yeah. Didn't alcohol sales like skyrocketed during COVID? So yes, a lot of us like to numb out, it turns out. So I would do that, or I would zone out in front of the TV watching really bad shows. Anybody done that? I did that last night after my sometimes that feels really good. Or a little too much sugar. Anybody done that to manage stress? Yeah. So, all those things. And it was this work hard, play hard lifestyle that I lived for many years. I went on to work in private equity at JP Morgan Partners, doing these billion-dollar leveraged buyouts. And then I moved out to Stanford to get my MBA. I moved out to California to get my MBA from Stanford. And when I graduated, I thought about doing something entrepreneurial, but I chickened out. And I took the safe route, and I went back into finance as an investor in Silicon Valley. At the time, I told myself, well, it's more responsible to go back to finance because you have a little bit of student loans. But really, I was scared. I was scared of failing. And underneath that, a deeper fear, I was scared of, what do I even want to do if I'm not following this prescribed path in life? Like, will I even figure that out? So I just had climbed this ladder. I had my whole life was this series of steps of get good grades, go to a good school, get a good job, get a promotion, get into grad school, and it was like I got to the top of the ladder and thought, crap, wrong ladder. So that led to a bit of a breakdown. I started doing a lot of soul searching. I hired an executive coach. I started studying all kinds of different healing modalities. I trained in hypnosis and past life regression healing. I studied mindfulness. Someone clapped over there. Yeah, past lives. Okay. I studied mindfulness and the neuroscience behind behavior change. I was trained in something called neuro-linguistic programming, which is a way, love the like, whoop for these different modalities. It's a way to rewire your brain to change your responses to things. And as one of my colleagues said, it's like they give you the remote control to your brain when you learn NLP. And I was doing all of this, frankly, for myself, because I had had this experience where I felt like I had success, and it didn't lead to happiness. And no matter how much I did, when I was running 1,000,000 miles an hour working in finance, I would still lie in bed at night thinking of all the things I didn't get done that day and all the things I had to do the next day. Anybody felt like that? Yeah, just a few people. And so I sort of thought, well, this doesn't feel like success. This never-ending treadmill that I seem to be on, no matter how many external accolades I get. So what's the solution? How do I get out of this hole? And so that's why I studied with all these different neuroscientists, shamans, healers, coaches, and I ended up changing so much that I quit my job in finance, and I decided that what I wanted to do was dedicate my life to bringing these tools to other people, and particularly to people in the business world. So that's what I've been doing for the last 13 years. And yeah, woo! I love that. You guys are the most enthusiastic. This is like the best audience. Thank you for all the applause. And it's been amazing. And I'm really excited to share some of those tools with you all today. So yeah, by the way, people were complimenting me on my family photo yesterday at the Women's Plus event because I showed my children like screaming and crying and me like, which I think is actually a more accurate family photo. We went to France for 2 weeks this summer, as my daughter Eva and my son James. That's the only photo where we are all looking at the camera with our eyes open from the whole trip. So yes, I'm a mom of 2, and I frequently lose my marbles with my kids, and I have to use all my tools in parenting as much as I do in running my business. And so I have a lot of ideas and thoughts on that if you want to chat with me outside of this. But yeah, I've been giving these keynotes and doing writing, speaking, leadership development programs for the last decade or so. These are some of my clients. I've been fortunate enough to work with a lot of really big companies, especially in the Bay Area where I live, companies like Google and LinkedIn and Salesforce. And you know, something I can tell you, because when I've done the one-on-one coaching, the really cool thing is people are incredibly vulnerable. It is such an honor, and they share so much of their story with you. And I can tell you that there are people who have made $20 million at Facebook who still don't feel good enough inside. And they think, well, everyone's gonna look at me and think it was just lucky that I made all that money at Facebook because I was an early employee. So now I need to go and be CEO of this other big company even though I don't wanna do it. That's a true story. So in some ways, it's been a blessing to see how, for other people too, the outside success doesn't lead to the inside fulfillment always. So how can you have it all? Well, one of the ways you can start to savor your life more and get more of what you want with more ease is through mindfulness. And there's a story that one of my mentors, Jack Kornfield, tells about mindfulness that I think is so important, and it really illustrates the power of meditation and mindfulness. So there was this 8-week training course that they had for people to learn mindfulness for beginners, and there was a veteran who'd come back from the war, and his superior officer strongly suggested that he take this mindfulness course because he had anger management issues. So probably he had PTSD coming back from the war, you know, it's a very real thing. Anyway, he was about 6 weeks into the 8-week training, and he was at the grocery store one night, and he was in a hurry. It was late. It was like, 6 o'clock at night, dinner time. He's starving at the grocery store, really cranky. Anybody been to that place? We call that being hangry in my family, when you're so hungry that you get angry. So he was hangry at the grocery store, and he was in line. He had a whole cart of groceries. In front of him in line was a woman in her 60s, and she just had a single can of soup in her cart, and she had a little baby with her. And she was being really slow. And the veteran was like, oh, this is so frustrating. I wish she would hurry up. And at one point, the checkout clerk was gooing and gawing over the cute baby. And he was like, seriously? Speed it up, people. This is so annoying. And then it really triggered his rule follower because he was like, she only has a single can of soup. She should be in the express lane. That's what that lane is for. Why is she in my lane? He's getting all these stories in his head, getting more and more worked up and angry. And then at one point, The woman even hands the baby to the checkout clerk, and the checkout clerk is holding the baby and just rocking it in her arms, and he's like, ah! Smoke coming out of his ears. He's so mad. Right at that moment, when he was at peak anger, he just had a split second where he remembered his mindfulness training. And all he did is he went, oh, anger. And he took 2 deep breaths. And by the time he finished the second breath, he had calmed down enough. The woman and the baby had paid. They were leaving the store. And because he was more calm, he turned to the checkout clerk and he said, oh, that was a cute baby. And the checkout clerk said, oh, you think so? Thank you so much. That's my son. My husband was called away to the war and was killed. And I had to take this job to make ends meet, so I don't get to see my baby. And so my mom brings my baby in every day on my shift, so I get to see him. And the veteran just started crying in the grocery store. And I've been telling that story for years, and I still feel emotional every time I tell it. And to me, that story illustrates the power of mindfulness. Mindfulness is not just sitting down on a cushion to meditate. Mindfulness is being present in the present moment. And here's the thing, when we're not present in the present moment, we're not available for love and connection and belonging and all of the things that we so deeply crave as human beings. So I want to give you an experience of mindfulness. So we're going to do a short guided meditation. And then later in the talk, I'm going to teach you a technique to elevate your energetic state and like swirl your energy, which is going to be super cool, hopefully. So before I go into the meditation, I'm just curious, how many of you have ever meditated before? Just show of hands. Yeah, okay, cool. No judgment either way. Actually, non-meditators, get out. Just kidding. It's funny because I'm in such a bubble in Northern California. When I give talks, it's like every hand goes up. But then once I was talking at this big biotech conference in Boston, with like hundreds of people, and I said, how many people have meditated? And not a single hand went up. I was like, I really am in a bubble in Northern California. So we're just going to do a short meditation. If you've never meditated before, yay, welcome. A lot of people confuse it, and they think that if your mind is wandering during meditation, you're not doing it right. Well, that's not true. The practice is actually about catching your mind wandering and bringing it back to something, to your breath, to a mantra, to the chair underneath you, whatever you want. But every time you do that and you catch your mind wandering, you call it back, you're strengthening that ability to be present in the present moment. So if your mind wanders the whole time, but you draw it back twice, that's amazing. So we're gonna do a short meditation. All right. So find yourself in a comfortable seated position. I recommend uncrossing your legs if they're crossed. And just resting your hands gently in your lap. Okay. And as you're ready, just allow your eyes to gently close. And I like to begin often by taking a couple of deep inhales and exhales, sometimes inhaling through my nose and exhaling audibly out my mouth. And taking a couple more deep breaths. And with each inhale, you can visualize or imagine that you're inhaling a calm, peaceful energy. And with each exhale, imagining that you're letting go of any tension or stress or worry that you've been holding on to. Inhaling a calm, peaceful energy. And with each exhale, letting go, letting it all go. And just for this, little while that we do this today, have nothing to worry about. So, enjoy the way that feels, to not have anything to worry about. And enjoy the way it feels to have relaxation moving through the body. This is a luxury that very few people allow themselves. To take a little time out of your busy day to just relax. So, enjoy the way that feels. To inhale this calm, peaceful energy. And as you exhale, releasing any tension or worry or stress. You might even see a color or colors associated with it as you inhale this calm, peaceful energy. And as you exhale and release. And anytime your mind wanders, think of your mind like a little puppy. If you had a puppy and it was running off the path to go sniff something or explore something, you wouldn't yank the leash to call the puppy back. You would gently guide the puppy back. So treat your mind and your awareness in the same way. Gently guide the puppy back. Gently bring your awareness back to the breath as you continue to inhale this calm, peaceful energy. As you exhale, releasing, letting it go, letting it all go. And while we're sitting here in this relaxed, open state of awareness, I'd like for you to take a moment and set an intention of something you'd like to receive from our time here together. Because this is always a co-creation. I'm speaking and you're listening, but we're still co-creating with our energy fields. So if there's something that you would like to call into your life, maybe there's a challenge you've been struggling with, or something that you really want to unlock or shift or expand or improve, or a certain goal you've been working towards that's been eluding you. In this gently relaxed state, see if you can allow your heart to bring forward something for your attention, for your intention today. What would I like? Maybe you want to feel inspired, or you want to get some new nugget of wisdom or some insight. So just take a moment and set an intention of something you would like to receive. And then visualize or imagine yourself walking out of this theater in the next hour or whenever you're going to walk out, feeling like, oh my gosh, I got that. I got some of that. I got some clarity on that issue, or I got new inspiration or a new tool. Imagine yourself, visualize yourself walking out of this theater with a little bounce in your step, a little pep in your step. Like, oh yeah, that was great. I got a little up-leveling in some way, shape, or form. Invite the part forward in you that knows how to receive whatever's in your highest good. Beautiful. And then as you're ready, wiggling your fingers and your toes, allowing your eyes to gently open, coming back to the present moment. So some of you might feel like you just went to the spa and had a massage. You're so relaxed. Others might feel like I spent the whole time thinking about my to-do list. So there's a whole spectrum of experiences. None of them are wrong. And every time you sit to meditate, it can be different. And I've been teaching this and doing it for 10 years, and I still have all kinds of things that happen when I try to meditate. One time, I was leading a guided meditation to a really large group at Salesforce in their big new tower, and they had just put in this like new coffee bar in the lobby, and I was literally leading a whole room in meditation, and my mind was like, I'm gonna go get a latte after this. Should I get a mocha? Like, what do I wanna get? Had this whole fantasy about my beverage, and then I caught myself and was like, wow, well, that's ridiculous. So it's okay if your mind wandered. The thing is, it's like strengthening your muscles. So every time you do it, you get better and better at calling your attention back, at noticing when it's wandered. So there's been a lot of research on the benefits of mindfulness and meditation, and I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it, but it does increase the gray matter in your brain, helps you improve creativity, lowers depression, improves happiness. It also actually reduces the size of your amygdala, which is in charge of your stress response. It's great for lowering anxiety. And there's an equation I like to use to represent mindfulness that I learned from Jack Canfield. And this is in my book. You can learn more about this in my book. It's E plus R equals O. And what this stands for is the events in your life, plus your response or your reaction, is what determines your outcome. Now, we often don't have control over the E in this equation. So that soldier in the grocery store, he didn't have control that there was a woman in front of him in line with a can of soup who was very slow. That was the E. But we always have control over the R, which is our response or our reaction in a given situation. And when you change your R, you can have a totally different outcome. And I like to think of this, how many of you have sent an email or said something in a meeting and then been like, I can't believe I said that, or I can't believe I wrote that? Anybody have that experience? Yeah. Or even worse, sometimes you walk out of a meeting and then you think of the brilliant thing that you should have said. Anybody had that? I hate that. And then I like want to send them an email, but I don't want to seem crazy, so I don't. Or sometimes I do, and then it's bad. Yeah. So often when that happens, what do? Well, often after we say something in a meeting that we regret, the rest of the afternoon we're going, I can't believe I said that, I can't believe I said that, I can't believe I said that. And we're replaying it in our brain all day long. And then, we're commuting home maybe, and we're thinking about that thing that happened, and then we get home, we walk in the door, and we're greeted by someone who loves us. Could be a human, could be an animal. They greet us with this love, and we just snap at them because we're so cranky about this thing we said at work. Anybody had that experience? And the next thing you know, dinner's ruined, and you're in a huge fight with your partner. Anybody else? Is that just me? I call that a downward spiral. So here's the thing. How many of you are familiar with neuroplasticity? Yeah, awesome. So this is the concept that neurons that fire together wire together. So neuroscientists used to think that when we were young, our brains were changing and growing all the time, and then when we grew up and became adults, our brains were static, and they weren't growing anymore. Well, it turns out that's not true. What neuroplasticity has shown is that your brain is always growing and building new neural pathways. I like to think of it, I use an analogy of being in the woods or the forest. So imagine the first time that you're in your car and you get stuck in traffic, okay? In your brain, it's the equivalent of from traffic to anger. It's like you're bushwhacking through the jungle to make a path, neural pathway, from being stuck in traffic to feeling angry. The next time you're in traffic and you get angry, well, look, there's like a little dirt path. You can just walk along that. The next time you're in traffic and you get angry, it's like you've poured concrete. It's easier to get there. The next time you're in traffic and you get angry, it's like a 5-lane superhighway, traffic anger. And the response happens so fast, it doesn't feel like a choice. Anybody had that? Where you do something, you respond so fast emotionally, it doesn't feel like a choice. Well, the good news is that this also works in the other direction. So if you were to be stuck in traffic and you were to cultivate a state of gratitude or appreciation, you're actually building those neural pathways and strengthening those connections in your brain. That makes it easier and easier and easier to feel joy or gratitude or peace of mind next time. So that's why I've dedicated my life to this stuff, because the overachiever in me is like, wait a minute, this seems like the best ROI we could possibly invest in. You're telling me if I spend a few minutes a day rewiring my brain, I can literally feel happier. Yes, turns out, yes, you can. So in my mind, I'm sort of like, why wouldn't we all do this? It seems obvious, and yet our old patterning and conditioning can really pull us out of it. So there's this great quote from the book Man's Search for Meaning that I want to share with you. It's between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. So this is very meaningful, this E plus R equals O, because when you choose a different response, when you start to get angry, when you want to lash out at someone or send a nasty email, and you pause and just take 2 deep breaths instead, you can start to create completely different outcomes for yourself. And it really does amplify over time and become easier and easier. So another concept I want to talk to you about, in addition to mindfulness, when it comes to optimizing your mindset and your energy, is something I call energetic breadcrumbs. And this is one of the chapters in my book, so you can read about it more in there. But your energetic breadcrumbs are those moments in life when you just feel really energized about something, really alive, or it's sort of like your inner spidey sense goes off and something in you leans forward to learn more about something. Whether it's a book or a class or a certain conversation, we all have these moments where we feel these energetic breadcrumbs. And your energetic breadcrumbs are really the key to unlocking your most satisfying, fulfilling, joyful life. They will always lead you to your path of least resistance and most joy. And so I highly recommend you start to pay attention to them and track them. And I call them breadcrumbs because we often dismiss them as, oh, well, that's like weird, or that's not significant, or that's irrelevant, or that's random. Here's what I've learned. Sometimes when we get close to our soul and our heart and the core of ourselves and the things we really want in life, the ego comes in and labels it as weird. And it's a way that we are trying to protect ourselves and keep ourselves safe. So actually, if a part of your mind thinks that something you're enjoying is weird, I would really pay attention to that as extremely important. You know, here I was a Stanford MBA, private equity investor, and then suddenly I was getting trained in hypnotizing people and taking them to past lives. My brain threw up a lot of red flags about that one. It was like, are you crazy? What are you doing with your life? You know, the voice got really loud. And yet that path has led me in twists and turns to things I could have never predicted that bring me so much joy. So in addition to following your energetic breadcrumbs, the other thing I talk a lot about in the book is finding your zone of genius. And there's a whole chapter on this in the book as well, with lots of guided instructions and journaling prompts to help you discover yours. But there's really interesting research around this. Gallup surveyed over 10 million people, and they found that people who get to focus on their strengths are 6 times as likely to be as engaged in their jobs, and 3 times as likely to report having an excellent quality of life in general. So if you want to optimize your energy, one of the best ways you can do that is to spend more time in your zone of genius. And your zone of genius is really the things that you love to do and that you also are really good at. It's the overlap of those 2 things. So my good friend and colleague, Kristen Wheeler, she developed this method called the native genius method, which is very similar to what I call your zone of genius. And this is her grid that she developed. She actually lives in Boulder. I might be getting dinner with her tonight. How cool is that? She does work with organizations and companies, so if you want to bring her in and help your team really get clear on their native genius, I would highly recommend her. And I love this grid that she created. So on the x-axis, we have ability, and that's how good you are at something. And then on the y-axis, we have desire, which is how much you enjoy doing it. So if you look at the lower left quadrant, those are the things that like you're not good at and you don't enjoy. When I had to like fix my home printer the other day, I was really in that lower left quadrant. So it's what Gay Hendricks would call your zone of incompetence. Don't like it, don't want to do it. Now if you look on the lower right, these are things you have high ability but low desire. Now, this is the tricky area for overachievers. A lot of overachievers get stuck in this area. It's what Gay Hendricks calls your zone of excellence, because you're really good at these things, but you don't really love them. So for me, I could run spreadsheets in Excel till the cows come home. I could do a financial model in my sleep. I got really good at that skill set, but it didn't totally light me up, you know? Now, on the upper left quadrant, you have low ability, high desire. So these are things that you really enjoy, but you're not that good at. Here's the cool thing about that quadrant. Those are often your hobbies, or they could be your budding genius, what's going to become your genius. So for me, when I quit my job in finance, I'd never done keynote speaking. I didn't even think that was something I would want to do. But as things evolved, I started to realize I liked working with big groups. But I had to learn for a while to develop that skill set to get better at it. So sometimes you start to really enjoy something, and again, if you follow your energetic breadcrumbs, you're going to get in this quadrant sometimes, and then as you become more masterful at those activities, you can move from that quadrant into the native genius zone. So the upper right quadrant is where you really want to spend as much time as possible. And if you want a really successful, empowered team, if you run your own agency, you want to try to get them in that quadrant too. So this is things that you really enjoy doing and you're really good at. And as I mentioned, there's a whole lot more on this topic in my book, so if you want to dive deeper, definitely read that chapter. Okay, so I have a couple more points on optimizing your energy and your mindset that I wanted to bring up before we wrap up. So when it comes to optimizing your energy, in addition to mindfulness and following your energetic breadcrumbs and getting in your zone of genius, there's some really cool things you can do to shift your energetic state to have optimal energy and optimal results. And we're going to go through these three categories. One is studying your successes. The other is getting in the energy of possibility instead of constriction. And then the third is appreciating your successes. So let's talk about the first one. When I quit my job in finance to do this new work, I had a lot of heart and soul, but I didn't make a lot of money right away. And you know what I did? I really focused on how I was not making enough money. Anybody done that? It was like, I'm starting my own business, I need to make money. I'm not making enough money. I'm not making enough money. Why am I not making enough money? Why am I not making enough money? Why am I not making enough money? If you think that's hard to listen to, that was my brain for many years. It was not a fun place to be. And here's the thing, when we focus on our failures, we get in the energy of failure. Not only do we feel terrible, but we actually draw things to us that mirror that energy. Ugh. Yeah. So if I can save you some time on my own learning curve for this, that would bring me so much joy. So for those of you who maybe you're just getting started in your business, maybe you're not even licensed yet, or you're just starting to become an agent or build your agency, the key to optimizing your success is to focus on what is working rather than what's not working. And yeah, sometimes you gotta look at problems and solve them, sure. Oh, do I need to fire this person? I'm not saying go be Pollyanna, but don't wallow in it. You know what I mean? You can feel when you're spinning loops in something and you're not making a decision, you're not moving the thing forward, you're just spinning on it. And when you notice that, you wanna get out of that energy and focus on your successes instead. And here's the thing, we're all different, we're all unique. So your success or how you activate success in you is going to be different from how I do. So one of the best things you can do is start to study yourself and your own successes and just notice like, what kind of energy was I in when I made that call, when I landed that really big deal? Like, what was I doing specifically, right before it or during it? I was leading a talk, a leadership development offsite for a sales team recently, and I had them do the exercise we're about to do, where I'm going to have you get into a memory of a time when you were either in a flow state or you had a great success. And one of the women afterwards, I said, what did it feel like? And she said, when I land my best deals, it's like I've done all the prep work. I've prepared. I know every objection that the customer might say, and I know how I'm going to handle it. I got all my data. I've got everything lined up. I've prepared the heck out of it. But then when I get on the phone with them, it's like I become a hollow bone. And I enter this like field of awareness where I just let things come through me, the right response. And I think of how can I be of service to them? And I let that lead me. And so for her, that's her work, is next time she's making a big sales call, to get in that energy of, okay, I'm going to be a hollow bone. I'm just going to let this come through me. So I want to help you get a little bit of information somatically of what it feels like in your body when you're kind of at your optimal level. So to do that, we're going to do a short little visualization again. All right. So as you're sitting comfortably again, perhaps uncrossing your legs, allowing your eyes to gently close. And I'd like for you to call to mind sometime in the past, it could be recent or from a long time ago, when you were in a state of flow, when you perhaps had some great success or achievement at work, or maybe you made a call and you could just feel the energy between you and the customer. You could just feel that you were saying exactly the right thing. You were connecting with them in exactly the right way. Something in you opened up, and there's just this knowing, I'm in the right place at the right time, saying the right thing. Everything is just totally aligned. It's sort of this magical experience of a flow state. And just breathe into that and just get curious. What does that feel like in my body when I'm in this state? Like, what do I notice? Is there an openness in your heart or your chest? Or clarity in your mind? Or do you feel all buzzy and alive everywhere? And if you're having a hard time connecting with a flow state or a time you felt really good at work, you could use an example from when you were playing a sport, or when you were laughing with friends, or from when you were a kid. I mean, you can go as far back in time as you need to. But just finding a moment when you felt so alive on the inside, so connected to yourself, and perhaps even in a work setting, when you just knew, yes, this is working. I can tell. And maybe you were even supporting an employee, giving them encouragement or mentoring. Just a moment when you felt really good about what you were doing, how you were showing up, what your contribution was. And see if you can amplify that feeling in your body, in every cell of your being. Like if it's at a 3, imagine there's a dial in front of you and you're going to turn it up to a 6. What are you saying to yourself when you're in this state? Or what are you believing about yourself or the world when you're in this kind of state? What does it feel like on the inside of the inside? Beautiful. And while you're in this energetic frequency, I want you to imagine all the other people who are sitting in this room with you right now, who are also in their version of that. And I want you to just connect in with the Symmetry family, the Quility family, this whole organization that is supporting you. And just feel how everyone else in this room wants you to succeed. And I'd like for you to visualize or imagine you leave this conference, you go back home, back to your daily life, back to your routine. And I want you to imagine sometime in the next 6 to 12 months, you're working really hard, or you're trying to get towards some big goal, and you hit an obstacle or a challenge. Something is not working out. You feel frustrated, you feel discouraged. In that moment, when you feel frustrated and discouraged, I want you to imagine this whole room right now sending you energy to move you through that obstacle, to move you through that challenge, to move you to the next. You might even imagine some of your dear friends or colleagues kind of lifting you up, like you're down in the mud, in the sweat and the tears, and just want to give up. And they're like, we got you. And they're lifting you up, maybe putting your arms around their shoulders and carrying you forward. And you feel that lift, that ripple of their energy supporting you. And now I want you to imagine sometime in the next 6 to 12 months that you hit some great milestone. You have an amazing success, a wonderful accomplishment. You grew your agency to a new level. You had some amazing sale, whatever, had some great results. And I want you to visualize or imagine this whole room cheering you on, sending you energy like, yes, we knew you could do it. We're so proud of you. You've got this. And just breathe that in to your whole being. Feel how supported you are. Feel how lifted up you are. And then as you're ready, wiggling your fingers and your toes, allowing your eyes to gently open. So we really can harness our energy and group energy to propel us towards our goals. And I'd love to hear what that experience was like for some of you, so come find me afterwards. But managing your energy is one of the best things you can do. And I was talking to, I think it was Jesse Backrack yesterday. Is that right? Is that his name right? Yeah. And he was telling me he hired an energy coach to help him manage his energy, and that his business took off so much. I think he made I don't remember, $300,000 in 3 months or something crazy. His business took off so much that they basically had to audit him because they were like, this seems suspicious. And yet he also came up with a whole system for getting referrals and really optimizing referrals. And I think he's going to lead a breakout session on that so you guys can learn more. But really, he did a lot of work on his worthiness and his energy and his mindset. And then things shifted dramatically. So if you take nothing else away from this talk, please know that that is one of the best investments you can make. And you can find your own way of doing it. So optimizing your energy by being a hollow bone and cultivating these peak energy states is a highly effective way to get more of what you want without all the hustle and without all the grind. Another thing I like is this new phrase, it's totally possible that. And I got that from Kyle Cease, who's a transformational comedian. And this is a great phrase to get you into possibility energy. So if you feel like, oh, it's not working, and this, that, and the other's a problem, instead you can say, it's totally possible that my business grows by this much in the next year, or it's totally possible that my daughter and I have a thriving relationship when she's a teenager, and we treat each other with respect and kindness. That's from my life. My daughter's preteen right now, and I'm a little bit nervous. And lastly, I wanted to end with an exercise to help you get into an appreciative mindset. And I want to just check with the team on time, because I know we're close on time, but we started early. Anybody want to give me a thumbs up or thumbs down? Are we okay if we go a couple more minutes? Yeah? Okay. We're going to do this video really quickly, and then we'll wrap it up. Oh yeah, and this is a success ritual that I talk about in my book as well, which is to start your day with 5 minutes to manage your mindset and your energy. So what you do is you put a glass of water on your nightstand before you go to sleep. When you wake up in the morning, you drink the water, which is like nourishing your body, self-care, and then you do some 5-minute activity to get your energy or your mindset in a good place. You can do a guided meditation or journaling or move your body. If you want, we have a meditation challenge that's just 5 minutes a day, so you can join that, it's free. But how many of you check your phones first thing in the morning when you wake up? Yeah. Often, what happens when you do that? How's your stress level and your anxiety? Not good! Because you know why? When you check your phone first thing in the morning, you get like all the emails from people, right? And you get, oh, I need this and I need that. So you're starting your day responding to other people's demands on you rather than your clean energy and what you want. So that's why even just 5 minutes a day, don't check your phone for the first 5 minutes of the day, and instead do some activity that supports your energy and your mind, your well-being and your mindset. So that's a great shift you can make. Oh, I also have, I wanted to gift you all this, and we'll share this afterwards as well, so you don't have to worry about writing it down. But I am trained in hypnosis, and I have a deep sleep audio. So it's a 20-minute guided relaxation to help you go into a deep sleep and stay asleep. So definitely check that out if you want an extra resource. All right, and that's the key takeaways to wrap up. And I think we'll just end it there without the video, but I'll share that with Meredith, and maybe we can get that to you after this event. But I just want to thank you all so much for spending this time with me today. Thank you.